So before we actually start everything, I just wanna bring up something like, do you have any, like, from the audience, any questions around confidence, or what do they struggle with the most?
Yeah. So how we kind of did this when we were at EXPCon was we really opened it up to the people that were showing up. You guys came to learn about confidence, how to show up more confidently, how to win from the inside out. And so because we wanted to keep this like super down to earth, we wanted to open up the floor and ask, what is it that you guys came here for? What's one thing you want to walk away from? Do you have a pressing question? Because we're happy to address it, talk about it. If not, we've got some questions up our sleeve too, but drop it in the chat. Tell us, what are your pressing questions about confidence? What do you struggle with the most? What are some of your insecurities if you're feeling vulnerable today that you want to just throw out there and chat about? Because a lot of times, you may think that you're struggling with one thing and it's just a you thing, but it's all of us. We all have our own insecurities. We all have things that we're just not as confident about. And that's what this whole panel is about today. So drop it in the chat. What are some of your struggles? What are some of your questions around confidence building? Or just drop in why you showed up today. What were you looking to walk away from? Because we definitely want to chit chat about that throughout the panel. I can't even see my chat. Hold on.
Do we just unmic?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Mm.
So I feel like me, third year in real estate, I feel like I sometimes still have to remind myself to struggle with like imposter syndrome a little bit. And especially when you're, still working with clients, trying to make deals happen, and nothing really is, happening. So still trying to show up as confident as possible. When peers are showing up and doing deals, it's kind of like, you do have to give yourself a little hug and say, just keep going. So I think I struggled a lot of that with last year. And so I pivot into making a decision in my business to join a team. I was part of a team prior to that, but the team itself was just kind of like for market share purposes. I wasn't, I didn't feel like I was getting much there, which is fine. Every team runs differently. I joined a different team. They're known as a mega team. And I mean, the growth, I joined them in November. The growth since then has just been like, I'm stunned. Like, I have 3 deals under contract right now. I have a listing appointment coming up, a rental list. I'm like the busiest I've ever been. And just saying that out loud, I'm like, wow, I would have given everything to be here a year ago, right? But it's being okay with that process. Right. And being okay with making a decision like, okay, yes, my team is taking a cut, of course, but what am I getting? I got all the, follow-up loss. I got all these leads. I got a lot of things coming in that are going to set me up for success. And so sometimes going through those darker days, help you make better business decisions. So I feel like that's what I struggled a lot with last year. And it shows in my numbers too, to be honest, but we're on the ball. So, but I feel like that's one of the things that I have always struggled with, personally. So.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. The one thing that comes to mind when you say that is something that I love telling other agents. Proximity is power. You put yourself in an environment where maybe you were borrowing confidence from those around you. When you literally position yourself into rooms around other people that you can kind of borrow some of that confidence from and build your own, especially when it comes to, like you said, your skill, being able to do more transactions. Sometimes we even if we don't feel the best about ourselves, getting around other people who are like-minded, who have similar struggles, who have similar goals, can really help you pour into yourself and then build yourself up. I really believe that confidence is something that can be built by seeing yourself do what you said you were going to do consistently over time. The more you show yourself that you're going to do what it is that you set out to do, the more your confidence increases, right? And so like you said, I'm doing more deals than I ever have. I feel better. Yeah, I took a pay cut, but 0% of 0 is 0. You weren't making it before. You know what I mean? And so sometimes you need to leverage yourself in that way. And I think that's a big part of confidence building too, is being confident in your decisions, your business decisions. And it sounds like it's turning out well for you.
Correct. Yes. So I just wanted to share that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for your feedback.
Of course.
So
Yeah.
Michael put in there comparing to others. That is something I actually spoke about at EXPCon. I just came up on my 3rd year, and that is the one thing I did when I first got into real estate. I made myself sick comparing myself to others. Social media is the devil sometimes, because it really draws you into like, oh, that person's doing that, that person's doing that. So I had to set myself back, congratulate everyone, but at the end of the day, I had to tell myself what makes me happy. How many goal, like what's my goal? What is something that I'm going to set myself into the future? Like, hey, I want this many closings. I want this many closings, so I can get comfortable in myself within my own goals and not compare my other goals or my goals to everybody else and what everyone else is doing. So that is definitely, I feel like a lot of agents do that. It doesn't matter if you're new, if you're in the game for a long time, like you see even older agents see younger agents. I've had so many agents reach out and be like, we love what you're doing on social media. And they've been doing this for 20, 25 years. And I always share, no gatekeeping. That's one thing. I love sharing. I love helping others. It's kind of like what they said earlier. I get my confidence from other people and who I surround myself with. That's very important. So it's okay to compare yourself. Just make sure it's healthy boundaries of comparing. It's a good thing too. You have those goals that you want to get towards, like so-and-so sold 50 homes. I want to do that, but make sure you have a good, healthy work-life balance in that comparing yourself to others.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. I see Gracie wrote, like, what's the biggest advice you would, like, biggest main character advice you would give to your 18-year-old self? So coming from me, I used to, like, back in the 18 years, when I was 18, I used to be like, hey, I don't have that. I haven't achieved that. So one piece of advice I would give to myself would be adding a yet at the very end. I haven't achieved that yet. I haven't been there yet. Because once I started doing that in my mid-20s, I already saw, like, okay, I haven't achieved one of my goals. How do I backtrack it? How do I reverse engineer it? And how do I get to that point? And also, like, I used to compare myself with a lot of people at that time. But again, I read a quote somewhere in the book, like, if you're comparing, you should compare level 1 to level 1 of something, not level 1 to level 20 of something. So that's the biggest piece of advice I would give 18-year-olds old self.
Yeah. To Michael's question, slow progress. I really wanted to speak about this. It's very easy, especially in this industry, to get caught up and, like you said, comparing yourself, your progress to others. But just a reminder, on social media, one, people are going to always post their highlights, and you don't know what their journey was to get where they're at. You know what I mean? Like, so many people eat dirt behind the scenes over and over and over again for them to be able to post and show the wins, the highlights. Very seldomly people start talking about their rejections or the things that they had to overcome, not even just in their career, but even in personal life, what they had to overcome to be where they are today. And so one thing that I would encourage you to do is to always start your day honoring your journey. You are where you are in your life because you have your own unique story. You have your own unique path, and somebody is looking at you and feeling the same way. I wish I was where he's at. Even just, even if you're like, oh, I only did 3 deals. Okay, there's somebody that's only done 1. There's somebody that just got their license. There's always going to be somebody that you're a few steps ahead of. And so always know that your unique perspective, story, career choices are going to shape your own journey, and just lean into that super hard especially when you're feeling like those imposter syndrome things. And if I were mentoring my 18-year-old self today, she was a little wild, to be honest, guys. But if I was mentoring her today, I would just tell her to continue to do it scared. There's been so many times where I have let fear and perfectionism stop me from doing things. And I'll never forget when I had my other business, I had an opportunity to be on the news. And I turned it down because I didn't feel like my hair was done the way I wanted it done. And I was scared to show up. And I was like, I'm going to be on the news. I don't want them to see me like this. I have to be perfect. And I turned down a major opportunity to get my business in front of so many eyes over something so small. And it was probably one of those things where I thought my hair looked bad. Everybody else probably wouldn't have noticed, or maybe wouldn't even cared. But do it scared. Do it imperfect. Just do it. Make it better later, but put it out there, show up, and then you can refine things, you can rebrand things later. But until you actually show up and try, you're not going to know what works, what sticks, and how you're going to be able to push things forward for yourself. So that's the main character advice I would give my 18-year-old self.
I love that. I think I would piggyback off that a lot, is to tell myself to just do it. And don't be afraid, and loving yourself, and not in the way I think people normally take that. Like, you have to be happy with yourself before you can make others happy. I got married. I'm still married, by the way, but I got married at a very young age. My husband was military. So for a lot of my younger days, around 18, 19, I was a military spouse. I focused solely on that and that for him. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I think if I would have taken more time for myself and told myself that's okay to be my own person aside from what my husband is building, I think that's the main character energy I would have told myself, is like, it's okay to be you aside from what your husband's doing. So
yeah, that individuality. And I think that's a perfect testament, Rishan, to like what it looks like to build yourself individually, and building your own value system, your own goals, and independently being able to look at yourself holistically. And like you said, then in context of partnership. And we can do that platonically in our, career spaces. It's like, the more grounded you are in you, the more you know what your strengths are, the more you know exactly like the things that make you you. I feel like that's a way for you to build your confidence too, because you do start to love yourself. You're like, okay, I might not be the best, I don't know, open houser, but I know I can negotiate the crap out of like some buyer credits or something like that. Like, you have to find what your thing is and lean super hard into it, because everyone has their own unique gifts. And I just love encouraging people to like really lean into what it is that they are good at, strong at. And I love that you shared what that looks like in the context of relationship, because I think a lot of times we don't talk about that, how our work life and those things impact things like marriage, and how we show up in motherhood, and like what our identities are outside of that. Confidence is something that's not just in your career,
Yeah, I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Cool. Love all those points, guys. So I'm gonna touch on Jen's question. So, like, for all three of us, what's the advice we would give to a newer agent on not taking themselves seriously, and then like just going for it? So basically, progress or paralysis. What I would say is, like, when we are first starting out, at least for me, the first few transactions did come from a sphere or a friend, or like somebody that knew that I was an agent. What I would say is, at that time I did not realize I would be closing a lot more with strangers than people I knew at that point. Right now, yeah, all of them are friends, all of my clients are friends, but like when I first started out, how you need to reframe that question is to, like, if I am trying to just make everything perfect before I go in, you might be doing a disservice to that client whom you have never even met, to, like, hit a major milestone in their life. Some people might have their parents who's like, who need assistance, so they need to like go from a 2-story to a 1-story home. Some people, they are bringing life into this world, so they want to leave a legacy, and you are that bridge who will connect them to, like, the most wealth building mm, thing that has ever been created. So what I would say is, one, don't be a secret agent. Everybody that you know and everybody that knows you, they need to know, like, okay, this is the guy or the gal for real estate, right? And also the second thing is, just, I would say, just go for it, because the stranger, they don't know anything about real estate. Once you get them into, like, consultations, once you explain them how everything goes, then they trust you, and then, like, they lean fully towards you, and they do not care about, like, how many homes you sold before that. What matters to them is how you make them feel, and whether you will help them achieve their goal or not. So I would say, just go for it and don't be a secret agent.
Mhm.
Nisha, how would you answer that question?
Newer agents are not taking themselves too seriously and just going for it. Honestly, I would say, like, lean into your personality, like, quite literally not taking it so serious, because at the end of the day, we're all going to make mistakes. We're all going to mess it up. But at the same time, that's the only way you can learn. One of the things that a mentor told me is that the only way to get comfortable with success is to get comfortable with failure. You quite literally can't have one without the other. So until you make a mistake, you don't know that there's a better way to do something. Until, you do something crappy, you don't know that there's a better way to implement. And so, like, lean in, and instead of needing everything to be perfect, it goes back into what I said before, like, truly just show up and do your best. I like to keep things lighthearted. I throw jokes in, like, at EXPCon, I forget what the question was, but I was like, it's because I'm a Leo. Like, I just talk literally from the space of, at the end of the day, I am who I am. And because I love me so much, I really don't pay too much attention to who doesn't. I know I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea. That's okay. The people that are assigned to my destiny will always find me. The people who are meant to work with me are always going to find me. And there's some people that are not going to be a match for me, and they are assigned to someone else's destiny, and that is okay too. That makes me feel more comfortable when I'm showing up. So, kind of to Alexis's point about imposter syndrome and working with higher price points, when you really, like, look at it from the standpoint of, I attracted this person for a reason. They said yes to me for a reason. Regardless of what that price is on paper, it could be 100,000, it could be 800,000, it could be 800 million. At the end of the day, the process, the contracts are the same. How you show up is going to be the same. You're still going to market. You're still going to make sure you know the contract. You're still going to negotiate. You're still going to maybe stage the property. Everyone, I forget what the saying was, but it was like, everyone puts their pants on the same way. There is no one that's above anyone else. And when you know that, and like, hey, at the end of the day, this is just another human. They chose me. I'm happy to work with them. I'm excited to work with them. They trust me. You're going to kill it. So literally, don't take it so seriously. Understand that transparency builds connection too. If you are struggling with something, there are times where I tell my clients, like, hey, I don't have the answer to that, but I am going to get the answer, and then I'll get back to you. I don't have to know everything, but that's why I tell them I have a strong team. Work. I have my brokers. I don't need to be the star all the time. And if there's someone else that I know I can say, hey, look, I'm going to call them and I'm going to ask, I'm going to get the job done, then I lean into that. So don't take yourself seriously. You don't have to know it all, but surround yourself with people that you can play off of and borrow their strengths. They can borrow yours, and really, center yourself in knowing that what's meant for you, it sounds cliche, but truly what's meant for you will always find you. And 9 times out of 10, the clients that find me are attracted to me for me, and they trust me. They trust me to figure it out. They trust me to tell them the hard things. And at the end of the day, if they end up making an exit, guess what? Bye. You just wasn't meant for me. You can't take it so personally. You have to take the emotion out of this work sometimes and really look at it for what it is, and look at it for face value, pretty much.
I love
Well,
that
that's going to be hard to piggyback off of, because that literally was No, I
Were
love
you
that
saying
though. That's why we get along so well, is because we think the same. I love that. And that's true. I would just add a little bit to that on my end is I found my niche. So for me, and what I would tell agent who's not taking it, lean into that more so. If you're not taking yourself serious on whatever scene that is. So, I'm a mom, I'm a military spouse, all of these things that I have, I lean into that rather than going out elsewhere looking for where can I fit in. I find where I fit in first. I'm comfortable in that area. Then I branch off to other places. Oh, I want to do luxury. Oh, I want to do, land and rent. So I would say find your niche, find where you're comfortable first, take that serious, and then that will give you the confidence to go branch out to other places where you may not seem as serious or may not think you are going to be taken seriously.
yes? And guys, find somebody y'all can laugh with.
Absolutely.
I got my little crew that if I make a mistake or if something crazy happens, like I will get on the phone with my friends who are also in real estate and be like, y'all, like the day I had to go show this house and there was ladybugs everywhere. I was freaking out. When I tell you the whole door frame was swarmed with these ladybugs, and my client was an investor and wanted to see this property so bad. After I got in the car, the way that I picked up the phone and called my girl Brittany and was like, I don't know what the hell I got myself into, but I bet you I'm never doing this again. I'm done with investors. I don't want to work with investors. Like, this is too much. Like, you have to find places where even when you're having like a rough time, a hard day, and you aren't feeling as confident, you need to find a safe space. Especially find a safe space with another agent in this business that you can piggyback off of, that you can call when times get hard, that you can laugh with. Laughter is so important in my life, y'all. I love to have a good time, and quite literally, I'll make a joke out of anything. Sometimes it's a little dark humor, but I think being able to like be lighthearted in life will make this process so much easier, because you learn how to pick yourself back up with so much grace, because you're not always going to get it right, and that's okay. But like I said, just lean into those quirky like friendships and be like, this is what happened today, and be able to kind of laugh. Alexis, what were you going to say? You had unmuted. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I'm unmuted. Okay. So no, you've definitely been speaking to me, because even 7 years later in this business, I still struggle with being a perfectionist. Like, I don't put content out as much as I probably should. And I won't say that stops business for me, because I have a lot of repeat business. But even with that, if my hair is not exactly the way I want my hair to look, if it's not fresh, I'm not putting the video out. And so a lot of what you've been saying has definitely been like, she's right.
Yeah. You can also learn to lean into different platforms. Like, for example, I'm learning that like TikTok is a space where if my hair isn't done, if I want to show up on camera with a bonnet, that's the spot to do it. I wouldn't put that kind of content on Instagram. You know what I mean? Right. But the girlies on TikTok, I can get on there in my bonnet and be like, y'all, guess what happened to me today? This is what, story time of these crazy ladybugs and being a woman in real estate, And you can just kind of lean into content in a different way. Not everything has to be so polished on certain platforms, or even on YouTube. You might be able to speak more to, hey, I'm 7 years in this industry. I serve Maryland. Here are the top 7 things that I've learned over the years. And just go down a list. You know what I mean? So diversify your content to fit what you feel more comfortable sharing, instead of trying to mold yourself to showing up in a certain kind of way that doesn't resonate with you. And that's why I love talking about how to diversify social media, because there's Substack now. If you're a writer and you would prefer to like write an article about confidence or buying in Maryland, you can lean into that. There's podcasting. You don't even have to be on camera for that. You get your mic out. I got a $20 mic off of Amazon. Get on the mic and talk if that's what your strong point is. But learning how to create content that works with you, not against you, is going to help you, because you don't have to do everything and you don't have to be everywhere. You just got to find where your lane is and kill it.
I love that.
And that goes into a niche too. You could take that and be like, hey, Fun Friday, this is me. Like it could become a thing where people look forward to, oh, Alexis is going to come on here today. It's going to be Fun Friday. She's going to show what her work week looked like. I show up on TikTok in a robe sometimes, and that's what people like because it's not, I mean, I'm covered, you know, but it's relatable. Like, I'm a mom, I work, I run a business in Texas and in Alaska. Life is crazy, and people look forward to that. They're like, oh my gosh, I love this. So kind of like Meisha was saying, you can lean into that. You could take it on, because I look very polished on Instagram, but if you go to my TikTok, that's more so
authentic.
that's like my diary, you know. I'm like, today in Alaska. So I have like a whole playlist of like, and another thing about Alaska, and people love that. So don't necessarily look at it as like, you're beautiful either way. People are gonna, like Meisha was saying, they're gonna find you either way. Lean into that niche though. Like, if that's how you want to come on camera, it's relatable. It's something that people can really, they're gonna relate to it. So you're gonna find your people doing that too.
I need to
Yeah.
get on more.
Yeah. And then figuring out like I said, sometimes it's not even about talking about real estate directly. You might have a skincare routine or something else that you're just talking about, and people get to know you. So this is like the power of building a personal brand, right? Is that people get to know us. Like, okay, she's like Rishan said, oh, well, she has a military spouse. She's also a mom. Oh, she's a realtor. She's this, that. A lot of times people will be in your sphere and follow you for a number of different things. And then when they're ready to transact, or when you're ready to reach out for whatever, it's like, oh yeah, like when I had my doula business, I started out in a completely different industry. When I made the transition into real estate, because I had such a strong personal brand about myself as Meisha, I already had trust. I already had clients that were like, oh yeah, I remember working with you for this. I reached out to my past contacts. So it's like, building a strong, powerful personal brand, especially in today's digital media world, is so important, because people aren't necessarily just looking at you as the Maryland Realtor. They're looking at you as Alexis. They want to know the other aspects of your life in general, the ones that you feel comfortable sharing. And then that's what builds the relatability for them to then lean in and be like, oh yeah, when I want to buy or when I want to sell, this is who I'm going to go to, because they've already built like this familiarity with you. And Rishan on TikTok, she's hilarious. I've been watching her stuff all the time. She knows. And I'll be like, because she talks about her one day, your daughter was like singing during the break or something like that, Christmas break. She's like recording her daughter singing at the top of her lungs. And she's like, the one thing that I love when she gets on there and she's like, I don't like other people's kids. I like my kids. And I said, that's how I feel. I was like, I feel you on that. I love so you see, like, it's that relatability that makes you like that person in general. So then naturally, real estate, everybody need a home at some point in time. Somebody's going to move. Somebody's going to need something, or they're going to know someone who does. But because you're top of mind, because of the relationship, even if you're watching content that has nothing to do with real estate, when real estate comes up, you will be the first person that they think of, you know, because you're already building that reputation with them.
I love that.
And it's good for referrals.
Yes.
Yeah, relatability and referrals, they do go hand in hand as well. That's totally true. Real quick, I just want to touch on something. When you said especially working with higher price points, how I like to think of it is instead of the price point, look at the person that you're helping, and then focus on that instead of the dollar value, and go from there. So if I can give you my example, I don't look at the commission check until title tells me, hey, look at it and then make sure it's good. So that's something I would say, just focus on the people, because this is a relationship business, not really a dollar business, because that relationship will pay in future in tenfold. So that's what I would say. Carmen, looks like she has a question. Go ahead.
It was more of just kind of chiming in on what everyone's saying, like having your own personality. Just quick story, when I was with the other team, they were more about luxury, right? And so I felt like I needed to show up a certain way to attract this price point. And that really did a whole rewiring in my head. And then I realized I'm not even this person, who am I? And so that was a little difficult to go through. But then I learned what you're saying right now is just treat them, everyone, whatever price point, whereas your investor that's investing in 200K to a potential $2 million listing, treat them just the same way. And I feel like that has definitely been eye-opening for me. But yes, that's great advice. Like, stick to who you are, because then you'll be very unhappy when you realize that you're not showing up 100% as yourself. And so, and that could really now deteriorate and hurt your confidence in showing up in your business overall together. So definitely that's great advice. And I've already been to those valleys, and so we're
Yeah.
learning from, I'm a Libra, so I learned the hard way. For some reason, we are so stubborn and we're like, we're going to do this. And it's like, oh, that didn't work out for me. So it's fine. We'll just chuck it and move on. Libra scale, we have a balance of everything. But yes, great advice, guys, overall. Yes.
I love that you said that about luxury. So I love talking about luxury, especially from like a brand strategist standpoint. Part of my background is in sales psychology. And let me tell you guys, here's a good tip. Anybody looking to do luxury sales, luxury in itself is never solely on the price point. You have to get into the mind of what people who are in luxury industries are really looking for. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be quality. It's going to be how efficient and tight your processes are, your professionalism. They lean into convenience. How can you make things convenient for them? How can you take things off of their plate? Luxury in itself is an experience. You have to look at your customer experience. It has nothing to do with you showing up in the flashy car with the earrings and the diamonds and all this stuff. That is more so for, I'd say, like clout. And even that, most people who are at the higher price points are not that. They're not that. When you actually see people who have wealth, they are not most of the time flashy in those ways. That's very staged in a way, you know? So I like to speak on this because there is a misconception that in order to do luxury sales, you have to look a certain way, you have to dress a certain way. No, it's also about the power of positioning. If you want to work in $1 million price points, you need to look at your market and see where $1 million homes are and who are those people. Sometimes it's not that they're a celebrity, they're a doctor, they might be an attorney. It might just be a certain side of town. Like I know here in Salisbury, we literally have certain developments where most of our doctors, our lawyers, our more prestigious career choices, they all live in this one community, West Nifsdale. You just know it. So then how do you connect with them? You know, okay, maybe I could do a seminar and partner with a lender on mega loans. Maybe I can partner with a lender on healthcare loans specifically towards doctors because they have different credits and things like that. You know what I mean? So it's about getting into the psychology of it and understanding who that buyer avatar is. A $800,000 plus price point may just be, you know, the client that bought a couple years ago and they just built mass equity or something like that. You just never know. But that's why you have to do that research. It's less about who you are and more about who they are. You know, where are these people at? So I love giving that advice when it comes to luxury because it's such a big misconception that you have to, you know, pull up in a Lamborghini. You don't. You just have to be able to get into the mind of those people and then position yourself where they are. Maybe they're at charity events. Maybe they're at your local Congress meetings. You know, you have to get into the mindset of where are these people? Who are they? And how can I serve them best? And most people who have luxury homes, when they're choosing their agent, they are choosing agents that they know, that they've networked with. So how can you get into different events in your community where you're going to find those people?
Exactly, you're on point. So there's a saying in luxury, right? It's not about the price point, it's about state of mind. And Meisha, I think you did a great job explaining that. So love it.
Yeah.
Cool. Since we don't have any more questions, I'll just send this question to Meisha and Rishan. All right. So where does your confidence come from and why is confidence so important as an agent?
My confidence now comes, it's honestly from whom I surround myself with, and myself. I mean, I definitely am the reason I am who I am. So I've built myself up to who I am. And it's taken a lot, but it's what's got me here. So I definitely think that's what, one second, I am so sorry. What was the second part of that question?
And why is confidence so important as an agent?
It's definitely important as an agent, because if you're not confident in what you're doing, how can you let your clients know you're confident? How can you present to them, hey, this is what we're going to do? If you're a listing agent and you don't have anything to present and you're not confident in your work, how can you possibly help anyone? If you're not confident in yourself, how can you possibly help anyone? That's why I said loving yourself, it really does go far, because I love what I do. I love myself. I'm confident on camera, off camera. This is who I am. This is what you get. So projecting that to others truly does matter. And it does help with your clients if you are confident in knowing yourself, knowing your market, knowing the local people in your market. Like it goes a long way. It really does.
Yeah.
Cool.
Agreed. Where does my confidence come from? This is like a two-part answer. Number one, I know I said this before, but I'm a Leo. And what that means for me is I literally feel like a lot of my confidence is a part of my personality and who I've always been. When I was a little girl, I have pictures of me like in a fur coat, striking a pose. Like little Meisha was very much this big personality. And I do think that sometimes you naturally are kind of born with an air of confidence, just the same way some of us are born, you know, maybe a little bit more shy, a little bit more timid. For me, I just was born with a little bit more confidence maybe than, you know, the next person. But also over time, I built confidence by focusing on the areas that I didn't feel confident in and really taking in some personal development, you know? So, you know, if I didn't feel good about myself in certain areas, I actually worked on those things, you know? So, you know, let's say you're literally like, okay, I don't like the way I look on camera. Okay. Be honest with yourself. That's why you don't feel as confident, because you don't like the way you look on camera. All right. So what can we do about that? Is there a hairstyle you want to try? Do you want to watch some different tutorial videos on how to do something different with your appearance? Do you want to take yourself off of camera altogether? And like I said, lean into other lead generating activities where maybe you don't have to show up on camera. You can, you know, like I said, do a voiceover podcast or something like that. How can you work with the things that you don't feel so great about so you can build it up? You know, and it takes getting really honest with yourself and looking at yourself in the mirror and saying like, okay, what is it that I don't feel good about? You know, maybe you've been saying that you wanted to go to the gym, or you wanted to, you know, start getting up earlier so you can do your guided meditation, but you keep letting yourself down. So maybe you need a coach, a mentor, some extra support. You know, personal development is a big part of confidence building. Investing in yourself and being honest with yourself about what it really is that's being like a pain point to you. Because 9 times out of 10, when you are comparing yourself to someone, it's usually not something so surface. Oh, they're just doing better than me. It's an internal story you're telling yourself about yourself. And when you can really sit with that story and rewire yourself to show up differently, get the support you need to show up differently, and address the things that are causing you pain on the inside, you literally shine from the inside out, because you start to, you know, like I said, kind of build that confidence. So I kind of was born with some confidence, and then the places that I wasn't so confident in, I just work at it. And even today, like, there's still times where I'm not as confident. There are things that I'm not sure about. There are things that I'm insecure about. I'm human, but I allow myself to be that too.
Cool. I love that. I don't know how I'm gonna top that, but I'm not Leo, guys, and I wasn't born with any confidence. All right. When I was 19, I literally, like, you know, didn't have anything, and I was on the mindset like, you know, I don't have this, I don't have that. So later on, working on myself, and then, like, you know, building everything that I have so far, I guess that's where my confidence comes from. And then like, basically investing in myself is what makes me confident. And right now, how I grow my confidence is by, like, looking at everything as a learning opportunity. Maybe I don't know, one piece of contract that I'm writing, I'll figure it out and then, like, basically go from there. So that's where my confidence comes in. Like, it's from how far I've come and what my potential is that I may not even know about. So that's what gives me confidence. And the reason why confidence is so important as an agent, again, like in piggybacking on both of your points, on like it starts from you. Once you are confident, then your clients feel confident, then you can win for them. So I do want to stress on that point as well. And also, guys, in our business, like let's say if you're just doing real estate as a business only, or if you're investing in real estate too, confidence is really important, because like it helps you build that trust with your potential clients, whether it's at an open house or you're door knocking. And also especially negotiating a deal on the other side of the phone with the listing agent or the buyer's agent, in order to, like, get the best result for your client. That's very important. So let me just share a story with you right now. This home I'm currently living in, right? I was on the phone. Actually, I was in Maryland when I made this. I called the listing agent, and then, like, took a few calls back and forth through 3 days, but I was able to get 245K under the asking price on this one. So I think that's a pretty good chunk of change, right? So that's why confidence is really important in, like, building trust, building relationships, and negotiating the best terms and conditions for your client.
Yeah.
Cool, awesome. Do we have any new questions?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Whoever would like to answer. Has there been a moment in your career where you feel like you've had a breakthrough moment, like a breakthrough, like, wow, things are really moving? And if you've had that moment, what do you think was the result that pushed it forward for you? Was it who you aligned yourself with, actions you were taking daily? That's kind of like an open-ended question a little bit.
Yeah. I have one. You want to go ahead, Rishan?
No, go.
I would say, honestly, it was when I made the decision to join EXP. That was like such a big pivotal moment in my career, for real, because I was with a local brokerage, and being in that environment in my local brokerage, I could feel in my spirit that I needed to be somewhere else, that I didn't align with it. They weren't doing anything wrong. They were great, like, and I think that's something too that a lot of people struggle with, is like when you're in an environment that's good and you can't necessarily find anything wrong with it, you just don't feel aligned. It's hard sometimes to make a decision to leave it, because you'll mentally think like, but there's nothing wrong here. I'm treated well here. But I had this like inner feeling that I was meant to be somewhere else. And when I did, I'm part of this group called Powerhouse. I ended up doing like a kind of like a trial with Powerhouse. And the first day that I was in there, I felt myself like light up. I felt like I was somewhere where I knew I was going to grow. It just felt like a full body yes. And that moment of choosing a full body yes, without logic, without reason of like, hard facts of like, oh, it's because I don't like this, but I like that. Like, it wasn't like that. It was truly like an intuition thing. I just knew that I belonged in that room. Making the choice to act on that and follow through with it, even when I didn't know what was on the other side of it. I didn't quite understand a cloud-based brokerage model. I wasn't sure what taking that leap of faith was going to look like, but I did it. And the second that I came over, when I tell you the stars aligned, opportunities started pouring in. I started meeting so many new people. I got 3 new clients and they were all from my sphere. So it wasn't even necessarily that EXP itself had did something. I really think it was just because I acted in alignment with what I knew I was being called to, that it's almost like the universe, God, whatever you believe in, met me there. Because after that, so many opportunities opened up for me. And then as I progressed in EXP, now I got to be in like leadership. I get to be on panels like this. I would have never had these opportunities where I was, but I also didn't see all of this coming. So my moment was literally joining EXP, taking a leap of faith, even without logic, without knowing why, and really like trusting my gut and doing it scared, because I was scared. I didn't know if I was going to regret my decision. I didn't know if I was going to be calling my old broker back like, hey, my bad, but I just knew in my body that I needed to do this. And it has worked out tremendously for me. I've gotten to lean into coaching and mentorship and really playing on my strengths, not only as an agent, but as a woman. And I love that for me. So that was my big moment.
You are
What
amazing. I love
Thank you
that
for
for you
sharing.
so much. I do. I think for me, my breakthrough moment would be I was licensed for a year in Texas. Mind you, I was in Wichita Falls, so it's a very small community. 90% of everyone and their mom is a realtor. So it's very competitive there. I won best realtor after a year of being licensed. I had so many people like, oh, she's new. The common, oh, I've been doing this for 800 years. Well, that's great. I don't want to do this for that long, but that's wonderful. Good for you. So I had so many negative comments coming at me. And then I won that award and I was like, okay, I see what I can do. That took me to, okay, let me introduce myself to Gracie, to Mark Anthony, to Claudine Hibbert, to Lauren Ray Hillard. Like it gave me that confidence to put myself in rooms with people who I saw doing big things within EXP. So it truly helped. It gave me that boost of confidence. After I won, I knew I could, but seeing it on paper, having the award up there, I was like, okay, I like this. Like I'm gonna fully take advantage of every opportunity that I have. I now run my business still in Texas. I run my business here. Since the new year, I've signed on 3 agents here in Alaska. So I've built myself through the negativity. I've built myself up from that. So that was my breaking point. I'm glad it happened. I'm really glad it happened. I can't tell you how many times I wanted to quit real estate, but I'm glad I'm here. So
Cool, love that. Love both of those. So my breakthrough moment, it's a little bit mix of like in what you guys had and then what I had. So again, I'm a big storyteller. I'll tell you this story too. So I was still working part-time as a realtor, and then I had my full-time job. I was working as a supervisor. It was a salaried position. It was about like 14-hour days, right? So I go to EXPCon. I'm just sitting over there looking at panels, right? I look at EXP YP panel, and I was like, people my age are like doing incredible stuff, right? So I was like, okay, so maybe I can too, because like in the Bay Area, in my community, especially, we have had these agents who are like, 15, 20 years older than me, and they have been dominating the whole time. And their advice to me was like, just keep working like full time, and then just try to work on real estate on the weekends, or like, hey, it's gonna take some time, yada yada yada. And I had a lot of people who would go to my clients and tell them like, oh, that guy is way too young. That's about it, right? So one day I'm driving back from Tesla. I get a call from the title company saying we recorded. So that was my first house. We recorded, and again, I'm an investor too, right? In that house, I calculated it was like, less than $1,000 a month as my mortgage payment, because my tenants were paying everything else. So I decided to like, reach home, write an email saying, hey, I'm leaving just in 2 weeks. That's about it, right? So that was one of my breakthrough moments, and how that shaped my businesses. Like, after I did full time for almost like 6-7 months, now I don't think I'm ever like, employable. I don't think I can ever work a W-2. So um, I kind of got into a bad habit. I love this business. I love what doing what I do. So that's basically how it shaped me, and that was my breakthrough moment. Right?
Wow.
Cool. Any other questions, guys? I know we are. I don't know how are we doing on the time, Jen.
We've got about 5 more minutes left. So if you guys each maybe want to just leave us with something like one tip or one takeaway that the audience can actually go and implement in their business today, like if everybody were to leave this room and disperse, what's one thing we could leave that we could just implement right away?
Be yourself, and don't be afraid to be yourself. Don't compare yourself to others. You are going to find your crowd. People will find you, you will find them. Don't, a lot of the times, yeah, fake it till you make it, but sometimes it is okay to, it is good and okay to be yourself. You don't have to dramatize who you are to fit into other people's lives. Don't do that. Just love who you are, love on yourself, self-care, mental health is huge. Take time for yourself, set boundaries. I know this is a lot more than one thing, Jen, but it all ties into each other. So just love yourself and don't be afraid to be yourself. Come on, Meisha, I know you got something.
You know, something that has been in my spirit a lot lately is when in doubt, hire out. Honestly, I think way too many times people are running themselves ragged, trying to do everything and trying to, you know, scale. They want to do social media. They want to do this, and they're burning themselves end to end because they're afraid to hire out. In order to, let me tell you something, if you want to go from 3 million to 10 million, that avatar of you is not the same person that you are today. That person, like Rishan says, has leverage, scalability. You have to be able to outsource the things that are consuming your time, the things that are not your area of expertise. You know, like it's okay to hire an editor. It's okay to hire a social media manager, get on Fiverr. It's okay to hire a coach, do a consult call with somebody. You know what I mean? Like if you're really struggling with imposter syndrome or this or that, get yourself a personal development coach, get yourself a business coach, get yourself the help you need, and understand that sometimes that does take an investment. Too many times, the second we hear that it's going to cost us something, we shy away from it. Oh, I can't afford that. I can't do that. No, you need to start asking yourself, what do I need to do to be able to hire that person? Because what's going to be the ROI and what is it going to cost you to not? Don't ask what it's going to cost you today. What is it going to cost you tomorrow if you don't? You know, and that's the mindset of winners. That's the mindset of people who want to make millions, who want to build wealth, like scalability, making sure that you leverage. When in doubt, hire out. Book the person, book the coach, do it, and do it afraid.
Cool. I love that. So when in doubt, hire out, because like, that's how you break the glass ceiling. And Rishan, I love how you said, like, you gotta be yourself and then like, do all of those things. So love all of those. So if I was to say implement something that we could implement right away, I would say learn to say no. Sometimes to your clients, sometimes to your friends, sometimes to people who basically try to take up your boundaries. I'll tell you, recent listing appointment I went to, told them like, this is what their house is worth, this is what we should put it for. They were like, what if we try a little bit higher and then come back? I was like, we can, definitely we can, not a problem, but you only get one first impression. So like, always put contingencies to that. If we don't get an offer within the first 2 weeks, we are lowering the price or something like that, right? So just learning to say no to a lot of things, you are saying yes to a lot of things that actually benefit you. So learn to say no to like, a lot of things that actually are taking away your boundary, you're taking away your time, and like, that's basically limiting you to be the best version of yourself you can ever be. Sometimes it's saying no to the parties that you don't want to go to. Sometimes it's saying no to the trips you don't want to take. And sometimes it's saying no to the clients because you want the best thing for them, but they just don't know it yet. So I would say learn to say no.
That was a good one.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
is. Not all money is good money. That's for sure.
No, it has to align. And saying no, I meant to say saying no is a complete sentence, but don't feel like you have to explain yourself. Sometimes you just got to stand on business. The no is the no. You don't owe anybody an explanation. You just got to do what feels aligned and right for you.